We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. US launches latest round of strikes against Iran, targets military capabilities threatening Hormuz transit. Trump warns of wider attacks unless Iran resumes talks. India-EU strengthens strategic partnership at third India-EU Trade and Technology Council meeting, announced cooperation in AI, semiconductors, clean technologies. India to host a fifth BIMSTEC National Security Advisors meeting in New Delhi. Discussions focus on counter-terrorism, intelligence sharing and coordinated efforts against cross-border threats. Iconic wooden chariot of Lord Jagannath and sibling deities ready to roll for the annual Rath Yatra in the seaside pilgrim town of Odisha's Puri. President, Vice President and Prime Minister extend greetings on the occasion. And in sports, Argentina reached the World Cup final after a dramatic 2-1 comeback win over England. Lautaro Martinez scores in the stoppage time to send the defending champions through. Well, on to the details now. The United States launched a new wave of strikes against Iran, reimposed a naval blockade and intensified its airstrike campaign on Wednesday. In a post on social media, the Central Command said U.S. forces struck Iranian command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities and coastal surveillance facilities to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten innocent mariners crewing commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM further said it used precision munitions to hit targets in multiple locations, including Bandar Abbas. Earlier, during the 90-minute operation, the U.S. forces used precision munitions to strike coastal defense systems, as well as cruise missile storage and launch sites on Crater Tumb Island. Well, the U.S. military also said it disabled an unladen oil tanker attempting to sail towards Karg Island after it ignored multiple warnings, firing Hellfire missiles into the ship's smokestack. Since resuming a naval blockade against Iran on Tuesday, the U.S. has redirected 2 ships and disabled another. Also, U.S. President Trump threatened to attack bridges and power plants unless the Islamic Republic returned to talks next week. Trump said that Iran badly wants to settle with the U.S., adding that Washington would decide whether or not to take such a step. Trump said he does not like giving deadlines and want Iran better behave.
Doing really well with Iran. The Islamic Republic of Iran is not happy right now. Should have been done 47 years ago. Should have been done at least during the 47-year period. And it wasn't. Other presidents didn't do what was right. They should have done it a long time ago. It would have been much easier. And they want to settle so badly. They don't like what we're doing. And they do want to settle. We'll find out whether or not we settle with them or we just finish it off.
Well, also the Iranian authorities said a missile attack struck areas near a cancer hospital in the southwestern city of Ahvaz hours after U.S. announced a second wave of strikes. Iranian state media also reported damage to an industrial facility in Qishim located in Hormozgan Governorate. Iran's health ministry said at least 35 people have been killed and 300 wounded in U.S. attacks on southern Iran over the past few days. Well, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai stated that the Islamic Republic has no plans to resume negotiations with the United States amid escalation of military confrontation between the two sides. Iran's parliament speaker and lead negotiator Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf said Iran was prepared for a fuller military confrontation if the US does not live up to the terms of the interim deal. Meanwhile, the Iranian army said on Thursday that it targeted U.S. military facilities in Jordan with drones after the United States carried out another wave of strikes on Iran. In a statement carried by the IRIB news agency, the army said it targeted the communication systems and fuel storage facilities of the U.S. military in Jordan using kamikaze drones. The army further said that attack was launched in response to recent attacks on Iran. Meanwhile, the air defenses were heard in parts of Tehran on Thursday morning as U.S. launched fresh attacks. According to state news agency IRNA, no casualties have been reported in Tehran by official authorities. The state media also reported American attacks targeted Western Loristan province and Semnan province in the north. Meanwhile, the United Nations is deeply concerned of continuing military escalation in the West Asia and has urged all parties to de-escalate and return to diplomacy. Well, UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said the UN chief Antonio Guterres has called for the full restoration of international navigational rights and freedom of navigation in and around the Strait of Hormuz. Dujarric added that such rights must be respected by all parties in accordance with international law. Dujarric said officials were pushing for an active return to diplomacy for tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. Well, the U.S. State Department on Wednesday said it has approved potential military sales to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. The U.S. State Department, in separate statements, said it has made a determination approving a possible $1.96 billion weapons sale to Saudi Arabia and a separate $484 million aircraft sustainment package for Kuwait. Now, the department said the proposed Saudi deal includes up to 20,000 advanced precision kill weapon system, guidance sections for air-to-air and air-to-ground use, along with launchers, warheads, spare parts, training and logistical support. Also, the Kuwait package, it said, covers sustainment and related equipment for C-17 aircraft, including components, maintenance support, software, training and logistics services. The announcement comes as the war with Iran has led to strikes on U.S. interest in both countries and others in the region. Well, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that Iran has allowed an American who was wrongfully detained under the Biden administration in 2024 to leave the country. Now, Trump shared on social media that Iran has released an American woman detained since December 2024 and praised Tehran's gesture of goodwill. An Iranian-American dual national who worked for a U.S. technology company and also ran a charity for children in Iran was detained in December 2024. She was later released from prison, but the Iranian authorities confiscated her passports and didn't allow her to leave the country. She was later charged with espionage. Well, moving on to humanitarian situation in Gaza, United Nations says 850,000 people are in need of emergency shelter, with an estimated 1.4 million people requiring. UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric informed that UN Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator for the Palestinian territory led a joint humanitarian mission to a former UN school in Deir al-Balah. Families reported urgent needs, including drinking water, food, healthcare, sanitation and education, while insecurity and lack of alternatives continue to undermine the living conditions there. Dujarric also said humanitarian partners distributed shelter-related items in the past month, but warned that without additional funding, depleted stockpiles cannot be replenished, leaving vulnerable families at greater risk ahead of winters.
1.4 million human beings are estimated to require long-term shelter support in Gaza, and that includes 850,000 people in need of emergency shelter. The Deputy Humanitarian Coordinator and the team met with women and men from the community to discuss their most pressing need. Their living conditions continue to be severely undermined by insecurity, the absence of alternatives, gaps in access to drinking water, food, healthcare, sanitation, and education. Our humanitarian partners are committed to mobilizing assistance to address this community's most urgent needs. Meanwhile, across Gaza, humanitarians continue to provide shelter assistance to displaced families.
Well, some updates from Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Russian missiles struck at least 2 districts in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv on Thursday. The daytime attacks targeted industrial and medical facilities in the Black Sea port city of Odessa and in the northeastern city of Sumy near the border with Russia. At the same time, Kharkiv, the main city in northeast Ukraine, was hit by combat drones. Well, in the southern Zaporizhzhia region, Russian strikes killed 3 people. Russia's defense ministry said it had carried out strikes on the ports of Odessa, Chornomorsk and Dnipro, used to supply the Ukrainian armed forces. More than 4 years into the conflict, strikes from both sides have been intensifying for several months, causing a growing number of civilian casualties as well. Meanwhile, Russia has accused Ukrainian forces of killing the chief engineer of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in a drone strike. The head of Russian nuclear giant Rosatom, Alexei Likachev, said Alexander Yakovlev died in a targeted terrorist attack by the Kyiv regime. Now, Russia's foreign ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova called on the International Atomic Energy Agency to condemn what she called this murder. So far, the Russian authorities have not released any further information about the attack. And in a government reshuffle, President Volodymyr Zelensky has endorsed a CEO of the state-owned energy company Naftogaz, Sergei Koretsky, as Ukraine's new prime minister. Ukrainian Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov was resigning as part of cabinet reshuffle. Appointed at the age of 35, Fedorov was the youngest defense minister in Ukraine's history and took over with the goal of injecting new energy into Kyiv's war machine. He was one of the earliest advocates of the growing use of drones, which have become a feature of the conflict on the front line. According to Ukrainian media, Fedorov could be replaced by the current Interior Minister, Igor Klimenko. Some lawmakers said Zelensky's decision to replace Fedorov as defense minister would not help Ukraine's war effort. Earlier, outgoing Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko's removal after just a year in office triggered the resignation of the whole government. In fact, Parliament accepted her resignation on Tuesday and is expected to vote on a successor on Thursday. Now, Zelensky has given little explanation for the move so far, apart from saying the aim is to refresh the leadership. And Ukraine marked its Statehood Day on Wednesday with a ceremony in Kyiv honoring servicemen and highlighting the country's growing defense capabilities. Attending the celebrations, EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen announced a drone deal with Ukraine to boost joint production of the key battlefield technology. The EU is pushing to bolster its drone capabilities after a series of incursions in countries along its eastern border neighboring Ukraine and Russia. She also called for closer defense cooperation between Ukraine and Europe, saying both sides should combine their industrial and military expertise.
Europe We already have huge technological and industrial capacity that can be deployed. And we have safe and secure production sites that can help to scale up. But we do not have the battle-tested knowledge and expertise that Ukraine has forged. So the point I'm making is that we need to combine our strength.
Well, Ukraine has already signed similar deals with some individuals, EU countries and Gulf nations looking to tap into the expertise Kyiv has developed during the last 4 years. Now, President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukrainian strikes now reach targets across Russia and pledges to expand drone production.
We expect by the end of 2026, we will have the technical capability to produce missiles by the Ukrainian team. American missiles produced by our own forces. Project Freya, we call it an anti-ballistic European system. Why? Because Ukraine is building the launchers and the missile. This is the heart of the system, but we lack other parts, above all, various important radars. That is where we currently have a shortage.
And still to come, DD India News Hour. French Parliament approves landmark assisted dying bill. We'll also get you the latest updates on Venezuela earthquakes. And Toronto is battling air pollution. But what is the reason behind it? Stay tuned to know more about it. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. French lawmakers on Wednesday adopted a bill creating a legal right to assisted dying for adults with incurable illnesses. The legislation will allow a person who requests it to receive a lethal substance either by self-administration or, if physically unable, with assistance from a doctor or nurse. The National Assembly approved the measure after backing it in 3 previous readings. The 291 to 241 vote in the lower house of parliament will be reviewed to determine if it complies with the French constitution. French President Emmanuel Macron announced the legislation more than 3 years ago. If approved, France will join the Netherlands, Switzerland, Belgium and Canada in permitting assisted dying. Well, OpenAI has lost its appeal against the European Union's refusal to register OpenAI as a trademark after challenging an earlier decision by the EU Intellectual Property Office. Now, the European Court ruled that the name is not distinctive enough, saying the words open and AI are common terms that describe artificial intelligence-related products and services. Under European Union law, descriptive names generally cannot be trademarked. However, the court upheld trademark protection for OpenAI's logo. The ruling means the company can protect its visual branding but not the name OpenAI as an exclusive trademark across the European Union. And moving on, the United States has announced a new 25% tariff on several Brazilian imports, escalating trade tensions between the two countries after a year-long investigation into Brazil's trade policies. Now, the new tariffs set to take effect from July 22nd will cover a range of Brazilian goods, although key products including beef, coffee and certain aircraft parts have been exempted. The U.S. justified the move under Section 301 of the Trade Act, accusing Brazil of unfair trade practices and barriers affecting American businesses. Washington said negotiations remain open, but Brazil's government has rejected the allegations and condemned the tariff decision, calling it unjustified. And Peru's President-elect Keiko Fujimori received official credentials on Wednesday in Lima, becoming the first woman to lead the country's government. The ceremony, held at the Gran Teatro Nacional and led by National Elections Jury President Roberto Bernio, also formalized the credentials of Fujimori's running mates, first Vice President Luis Galarreta and second Vice President Miguel Torres. The National Elections Jury proclaimed Fujimori's Fuerza Popular ticket the winner of the presidential runoff on July 3rd after she defeated leftist candidate Roberto Sanchez. Fujimori is due to be sworn in on July 28th, Peru's Independence Day. And on to some updates on Venezuela earthquake now. The death toll from the last month's devastating twin earthquakes in Venezuela has surpassed 4,800. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes struck within a minute of each other on June 24th, decimating the coastal state of La Guaira, located north of Caracas. Rescue workers and family members in La Guaira are plowing ahead with their search for victims buried under collapsed buildings 3 weeks after the quakes struck. Well, a worsening Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is disrupting travel and delaying talks on a U.S.-backed critical minerals partnership, sources say. The outbreak, declared in mid-May, has infected more than 2,000 people and killed 754, prompting the U.S. Embassy to advise Americans not to travel to Congo. Travel restrictions and quarantine concerns have postponed key meetings and investment discussions, including a planned Washington review of Congolese mining projects. Some talks have shifted to London, Paris and Brussels, while the U.S. says it remains committed to advancing the minerals partnership. And moving on, Toronto is battling hazardous air pollution after wildfire smoke pushed Canada's largest city to the top of the global air quality rankings, prompting health warnings and widespread disruptions. Now, Toronto recorded the worst air quality among major cities worldwide as smoke from wildfires in northwestern Ontario blanketed the city. Authorities urged residents to stay indoors while pools, summer camps and the official FIFA fan festival ahead of the World Cup semi-final between England and Argentina were shut. More than 800 wildfires remain active across Canada, with smoke also affecting parts of the northeastern United States as a prolonged heat wave continues. Well, also, Algeria is battling a fresh wave of wildfires as soaring temperatures fuel blazes across the country's north, with at least one firefighter losing his life during rescue efforts. A 59-year-old municipal worker died while helping emergency crews battle the wildfires in Algeria's Sete province, according to local media. Civil defense teams responded to nearly 140 fires across the country in the past 24 hours, containing most of them as a severe heat wave continues to drive blazes. Authorities have not yet released estimates of the total area burnt, while neighboring Mediterranean countries, including France and Italy, are also battling wildfires. And Mexican clowns took part in a pilgrimage through Mexico City, traveling to the Basilica as part of an annual tradition. Mexican clowns gathered for an annual pilgrimage to the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe, performing comedy acts before receiving the blessings. The tradition began after the founding of the Mexican Circus Clowns Club in 1979. The pilgrimage has been held annually since 1981 to mark the club's anniversary and give thanks for the previous year. And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Brunei Sultan Hassan Al Bolkiah, the world's longest reigning living monarch, celebrated his 80th birthday in the country's capital, Bandar Seri Begawan. He lives in the Istana Nurul Imam Palace, a sprawling 1,800-room residence on the bank of the Brunei River, recognized by the Guinness World Records as the world's largest residential palace.
Istiadat pemeriksaan siap untuk diperiksa. Tan diam dan yang lain senang di.
A drone show was held over the Bosphorus Bridge in Istanbul to mark the 10th anniversary of the July 15th coup attempt. The drone show displayed images of Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, a man standing against a tank, and other images next to the bridge, which was dubbed the July 15th Martyrs Bridge after fighting between Patshists and civilians took place there. Perched atop a mountain in Chile's Coquimbo region, where some of the world's darkest skies stretch over the Andes, a giant observatory has begun filming the infinite to create the first movie of the universe. A joint program of U.S. departments officially launched its decade-long survey of the night sky on June 29th. And news from the world of business now. As global crude oil prices surged following an escalation in the US-Iran conflict, India has raised windfall taxes on exports of diesel and aviation turbine fuel. According to a government notification, the export duty on diesel has been increased to 15.5 rupees per litre from rupees 8.5 per litre. The levy on aviation turbine fuel exports has also been raised to 14.5 rupees per litre from 7.5 rupees per litre. Now, at the same time, the government reduced the export duty on petrol to 2.5 rupees per litre from 4 rupees per litre. The revised rates will come into effect from 16th of July. The changes are part of the government's fortnightly review of windfall taxes, which are linked to international fuel prices and refining margins. Well, the global equities index rose on Wednesday after a surprise drop in the U.S. inflation reading and a second day of strong earnings reports. In U.S. equities, the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.29%, the S&P 500 rose 28.81 points, and the Nasdaq Composite rose to 0.62%. In currencies, the dollar slipped against major currencies after the data reinforced signs of easing inflation, supporting hopes that the Federal Reserve can remain patient on interest rates. U.S. crude also settled up 0.33% at $79.60 a barrel, and Brent settled at $84.95 per barrel. Well, the SpaceX shares have fallen below their IPO price for the first time, marking a sharp reversal for the company that only weeks ago completed the world's biggest stock market debut. Now, SpaceX shares slipped below their $135 IPO price after falling 1.7%, leaving early investors facing paper losses for the first time since the company's blockbuster listing. The decline comes amid broader market uncertainty over interest rates and growing questions about the company's lofty valuation despite its unprofitable business. Investors are now awaiting SpaceX's first earnings report as a publicly listed company for clues about its future performance. And still to come in DD India News Hour. Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi approves Semicon 2.0. The Cabinet also approves the mobile phone manufacturing scheme. And IRCTC launches beta version of its redesigned ticket booking user-friendly website. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Time now for a quick recap of the headlines. US launches latest round of strikes against Iran, targets military capabilities threatening Hormuz transit. Trump warns wider attacks unless Iran resumes talks. India-EU strengthens strategic partnership at third India-EU Trade and Technology Council meeting. Announced cooperation in AI, semiconductors, clean technologies. India to host 5th BIMSTEC National Security Advisors meeting in New Delhi. Discussions focus on counter-terrorism, intelligence sharing and coordinated efforts against cross-border threats. Iconic wooden chariot of Lord Jagannath and sibling deities ready to roll for the annual Rath Yatra in the seaside pilgrim town of Odisha's Puri. President, Vice President and Prime Minister extend greetings on the occasion. And in sports, Argentina reached the World Cup final after a dramatic 2-1 comeback win over England. Lautaro Martinez scores in the stoppage time to send the defending champions through. Well, India and European Union held the third meeting of the Trade and Technology Council in Brussels on Wednesday. In fact, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal co-chaired the ministerial meeting alongside External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and MOS Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology Jitin Prasad. The leaders reviewed progress across resilient supply chains, critical and emerging technologies, clean energy and EV innovation, deep tech startups, green hydrogen and EV and batteries. They also reaffirmed their resolve to deepen economic engagement and build future-ready partnerships that benefit businesses and citizens alike. In his remarks, Piyush Goyal said the Trade and Technology Council complements the ongoing efforts towards an ambitious, balanced and mutually beneficial India-EU free trade agreement. He added that it also continues to drive strategic partnership by translating shared priorities into meaningful cooperation.
This is a historical year in the ties between the EU and India. We concluded the mother of all trade deals, as Her Excellency Ms. von der Leyen called the EU-India Free Trade Agreement. The Trade and Technology Council and the Free Trade Agreement are actually mutually reinforcing instruments. We are helping create the framework for greater trade and business through the Free Trade Agreement. We are actionating agenda items through the TTC to ensure that we bring the FTA to life as soon as we can. We look forward to witness the signing of the EU-India FTA later this year. Both the EU and India are committed to building upon the momentum that has been created, the momentum built on mutual trust and our shared vision to deliver mutually beneficial outcomes in a spirit of partnership, respect for the shared prosperity of businesses and the people of the European Union and India.
Well, Piyush Goyal also flagged the current global economic instability in the world caused by conflicts, asserting that stronger framework at the world bodies for trade and business will accelerate investments and technology collaboration.
The multilateral trading system is undergoing great turbulence around the world, and therefore our shared commitment to a rules-based, open, inclusive and non-discriminatory World Trade Organization will help us steer progress at the WTO in the future.
While External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar in his remarks stressed that as international economy faces supply chain choke points, market access issues and technology gaps, trusted and reliable partnerships like that of India and EU show the way forward.
Productive meeting of the Trade and Technology Council. Strengthening resilience of supply chains is today clearly a global priority. India and the EU have a natural affinity. The rule of law and the sanctity of contracts are central to our thinking. When it comes to sensitive technologies, this is all the more important. The fact is that emerging technologies literally hold the potential to shape our lifestyle and future. India and the European Union have developed this trust with each other and now strive to take that into the business and technology domains.
Well, earlier, Piyush Goyal, alongside his ministerial colleagues, held meaningful interactions with industry leaders from India and Europe at the India-EU Business Roundtable. The discussions reflected a shared commitment to expanding economic engagement through deeper collaboration in trade, investment, technology and innovation, while identifying new avenues for business partnerships. With the India-EU Free Trade Agreement opening a new chapter in our relationship, Piyush Goyal said that the focus now is on translating its potential into tangible opportunities for businesses, strengthening value chains and driving sustainable growth across both the economies. Meanwhile, today in the final leg of his three-nation visit, Piyush Goyal will visit Finland. During his two-day visit, he will hold a bilateral meeting with Minister of Economic Affairs, Dr. Sakaro Puisto, and participate in the India-Finland Business Roundtable with Finnish companies engaged in digitalization, clean energy, advanced manufacturing and the circular economy. An MOU between CII and Business Finland will also be signed to strengthen institutional collaboration. He will also visit leading Finnish companies and research institutions including Nokia, Kone, Kempai Group and VTT Technical Research Centre of Finland to explore collaboration in telecommunications, advanced manufacturing, clean energy, mobility and innovation as well. Well, India is hosting the 5th BIMSTEC National Security Chiefs and Advisors meeting in New Delhi on Thursday. In fact, chaired by India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, the discussions are likely to include counter-terrorism, intelligence sharing and coordinated efforts against cross-border threats. The meeting is taking place amid a number of challenges in a world beset by conflict, including cybersecurity, transnational organized crime, maritime security and emerging threats such as violent extremism and disaster response. BIMSTEC, or the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, brings together 7 countries around the Bay of Bengal, 5 from South Asia and 2 from Southeast Asia. Together, these nations represent nearly 22% of the world's population, about 1.8 billion people and a combined GDP of around $5 trillion. And moving on, the cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday approved a Semicon 2.0 for the development of India's semiconductor design and manufacturing ecosystem with a total budget outlay of 127,500 crore rupees. That is more than $13 billion. Presenting the plan, Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw said that the Semicon 2.0 is aimed to holistically build the semiconductor ecosystem on the 6 pillars of design, machines and materials, setting up more fabs, further strengthening the ATMP/OSAT industry, research and development and talent development. He added that the mission will further the Indian government's efforts to put the country on the semiconductor map of the world. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the decision, saying that with it, India's semiconductor journey gets even more vibrant. In fact, in a social media post, he said, and I quote, "The cabinet has approved a Semicon 2.0 with an outlay of 1,27,500 crore rupees, reaffirming our long-term commitment to making India a global center for semiconductor design, manufacturing and innovation. Powered by our youth, Semicon 2.0 will strengthen every aspect of the semiconductor ecosystem. Semicon 2.0 will attract greater investment, create high-value opportunities for our youth, strengthen supply chains and advance technological self-reliance in critical sectors." Well, the Cabinet also approved the mobile phone manufacturing scheme with a budgetary outlay of 62,500 crore rupees. The scheme is aimed at building Indian brands to achieve technological sovereignty, capture significant economic value, and create Indian patents in design and R&D. During the scheme tenure, the cumulative mobile phone production in the country is expected to reach approximately 39 lakh crore rupees, with significant increase in exports of mobile phones as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the decision, saying that this will provide a massive boost to Make in India and to India's electronics manufacturing ecosystem as well. He added that the decision will help India scale up production, deepen domestic value addition, strengthen supply chains, and create a globally competitive ecosystem in India. Prime Minister Modi also said that over the next few years, the scheme is expected to generate several job opportunities for the youth. And now let's take a look at some of the features of the MPMS scheme. Well, the scheme has been launched with the aim of further scaling up the production, deepening domestic value addition, strengthening supply chain resilience, and enhancing global competitiveness. MPMS scheme also aims at building Indian brands to achieve technological sovereignty, capture large economic value, and create Indian patents in design and research and development. Now, the scheme tenure shall be 5 years, that is from financial year 2026-27 to financial year 2030-31. The scheme provides incentive support on eligible sales for manufacturing of mobile phones in India at differentiated rates ranging from 2.25% to 5%. Also, the scheme provides additional incentive of up to 1.5% linked to domestic sourcing of key components, sub-assemblies. For building Indian brands, an additional incentive at 3% will be provided on eligible sales for design and R&D of the product. During the scheme tenure, the cumulative mobile phone production in the country is expected to reach approximately 3,900,000 crore rupees, with significant increase in exports of mobile phones. The scheme is also expected to generate around 60,000 direct jobs, thereby contributing to economic growth, employment generation, and strengthening India's position in global electronics manufacturing hub. Prime Minister's Make in India vision has propelled electronics manufacturing to grow 7 times and exports to grow 11 times since financial year 2014 to 15. India is now the world's second largest mobile phone manufacturer by volume, with 99.2% of mobile phones used in India being manufactured domestically. Well, the Indian Railway Catering and Tourism Corporation on Wednesday launched the beta version of its redesigned ticket booking website to make train ticket booking simpler and more user-friendly. The beta portal is now accessible through the existing IRCTC website, allowing users to explore the updated interface and submit feedback that will help shape the final version. The new beta website focuses on simplifying the ticket booking process rather than adding entirely new services. The redesign introduces a cleaner layout with fewer distractions and aims to reduce the number of steps required to complete a booking. One of the most noticeable changes is the removal of unnecessary captchas, pop-ups, and flashing graphics that often interrupted the booking process. The updated interface is designed to provide a smoother experience, particularly during high-demand ticket bookings. The beta website also displays seat availability across all travel classes on a single screen, making it easier for passengers to compare options without repeatedly changing filters or navigating between the pages. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will flag off India's first hydrogen-powered train between Haryana's Jind and Sonipat, marking an important step towards the adoption of clean and sustainable mobility in the railway sector. Designed, engineered and integrated in India, the train has been developed using indigenous technology, reflecting the country's growing capabilities in advanced railway engineering. With its introduction, India joins the select group of countries that have operational hydrogen-powered trains. The train is powered by hydrogen fuel cell technology, which converts hydrogen into electricity to propel the train. The process produces only water vapor as a byproduct, resulting in zero carbon emissions during its operation. Compared to diesel trains, they eliminate tailpipe emissions, lower dependence on fossil fuels and fossil fuel imports, and operate with significantly less noise. Unlike conventional electric trains, they do not require continuous overhead electrification infrastructure, as electricity is generated on board through hydrogen fuel cells, making them a clean and efficient solution. The use of green hydrogen also reduces dependence on electricity generated from fossil fuel-based thermal power plants, supporting India's transition to sustainable transport. India's hydrogen train features a 10-coach configuration, making it among the longest hydrogen-powered passenger trains developed so far. It is powered by a 3,200 HP propulsion system, making it one of the most powerful hydrogen-powered train sets in operation. Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for some sports news. India will look to continue their winning momentum as they take on England in the second ODI of the three-match series today. The match will be played at Sophia Gardens in Cardiff, with the action beginning at 5:30 p.m. IST. India comes into the game high on confidence after a 6-wicket victory over host England in the first ODI at Edgbaston, Birmingham. India now have a chance to seal their fourth consecutive ODI series win against England. India won the 2021 series at home 2-1, followed by a 2-1 victory in England in 2022 and a 3-0 win at home in 2025. With a 1-0 lead in the three-match series, India will aim to extend their advantage and take an unassailable lead. And FIFA, defending champions Argentina, through to yet another FIFA World Cup final. Trailing for much of the semi-final against England, Lionel Messi's side produced a sensational late comeback to snatch victory and set up a blockbuster title clash against Spain. Abhishek Mahajan reports for more from Atlanta.
For almost the entire contest, England had one foot in the finals. Anthony Gordon's 55th minute strike put the three lines ahead, and with a disciplined defensive display, England looked set to end their 6th wait for a place in the World Cup final. But champions never stop believing. Yet another remarkable comeback by Argentina unfolded on the biggest stage. Enzo Fernandez equalized in the 85th minute before substitute Lautaro Martinez struck the winner in stoppage time, breaking English hearts and their hopes too.
My country to won the match, so I'm very happy. Yeah, yes, exactly. No, I'm so happy for this moment because it's an epic for my country.
Man, what a beautiful game. You know, Messi really showed how he's the GOAT, you know, and why he's the GOAT. They came back. Again, they were down 1-0 and came back to 2-1 and won the game. They're going to the World Cup.
Argentina captain Lionel Messi may not have found the score sheet, but he once again proved why he's regarded one of the greatest to have played the game. His vision, leadership, and 2 decisive assists inspired Argentina's remarkable turnaround. The celebrations continued long after the match, as Atlanta was turned into a sea of sky blue and white. The stage is now set for a blockbuster final, with defending champions Argentina taking on Spain in a battle for football's biggest prize.
Count Argentina out at your own risk, because champions always find a way. And GOAT Messi inspired the team again when it mattered the most. With cameraman Shubham Sharma, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Atlanta, Georgia for DD India.
Well, Argentina fans erupted in celebrations after the team's thrilling 2-1 win over England. DD India's Abhishek Mahajan spoke to Argentine supporters and captured their emotions after the historic victory.
All right, what a great game it was. Argentina making a superb comeback, and in the end, winning 2-1, beating England and making it to the finals yet again. They are the defending champions and they'll meet Spain on 19 July. What do you want to say? What a great comeback.
Man, what a beautiful game. You know, Messi really showed how he's the GOAT, you know, and why he's the GOAT. They came back again. They were down 1-0 and came back to 2-1 and won the game. They're going to the World Cup. It's Argentina and Spain now. We're going to see what goes on. Spain's going to be a tough match, man.
Absolutely. One GOAT versus 3 Lions.
2 GOATs.
A good game today. Messi, very good job today. But I think Lamine is going to smack him like a donkey in the final.
I'm very happy. Yeah, yes, exactly. No, I'm so happy for this moment because it's an epic for my country.
Was amazing game. We was super exciting for this game. For the final, it's gonna be super fun. We have a great team. We really believe in our selection, so we are super happy for this situation.
What do you want to say? Do you think Argentina and Spain, who do you think has an upper hand?
We will do it. We will win again. We are very sure that we'll win again.
All right, what a game it was. Argentina making again a superb comeback by them, scoring in the 85th minute and then again winning the game by 2-1. Thank you so much for speaking to us. And again, on 19 July, it is Spain versus Argentina. With cameraman Shubham Sharma, this is Abhishek Mahajan in Atlanta for DD India.
Por Malvina, por el Diego, por la última de Leo. Argentina, vamos Messi. Queremos ser campeones otra vez y 32 años después la escaloneta va a vengar. Argentina, Argentina.
Now moving on, lakhs of devotees from India and around the world gathered in the Puri, the seaside pilgrim town in Odisha, for the annual Jagannath Rath Yatra, also called the Festival of Chariots. And right now we're getting you live shots from Puri, where the Jagannath Rath Yatra has begun. President Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan and Prime Minister Narendra Modi also extended greetings to countrymen on the occasion. It is one of the most important and grand Hindu festivals celebrated every year. Well, Rath Yatra is unique as the deities step out of the temple and journey through the streets of Puri. Lord Jagannath and his sibling deities are seated on 3 wooden chariots which are pulled by thousands of devotees. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Rath Yatra takes place well before the procession starts. That is, the massive chariots are not reused but are newly made from scratch every year. These are live visuals coming in from Puri right now, where the devotees gathering to witness the spiritual journey of the beloved Lord Jagannath. Jagannath Yatra is one of the most important and grand Hindu festivals celebrated every year. Well, in Ahmedabad also, devotees thronged the Jagannath temple for the annual Chariot Festival, marked by devotion and elaborate ceremonies. Also, Union Home Minister Amit Shah offered prayers at Jagannath Temple in Gujarat's Ahmedabad. Later, in a post on X, he greeted countrymen on the sacred occasion and wrote that the world-renowned Jagannath Rath Yatra is a symbol of unwavering faith, belief and devotion. The sacred Rath Yatra preserves India's rich cultural heritage and demonstrates the unbroken reverence for the divine. And let's get you some more visuals, live visuals coming in from Puri right now, where the devotees have gathered to witness the spiritual journey of their beloved Lord Jagannath. Well, the world-renowned sand artist Doordarshan created 100 miniature Raths to mark the annual Jagannath Rath Yatra. The sculpture depicts Lord Jagannath with the 3 majestic chariots, while the 100 miniature sand chariots symbolize the devotion and faith of millions of devotees who participate in the annual festival. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Now.